I gave up my dream for a girl. She left me anyway. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who wrote something like this. But here I am, sitting in my half-empty apartment, eating cold takeout, staring at the spot where her desk used to be, and wondering how the hell I got here. And yeah, I know how it sounds. You gave up your dream for a girl. Like, bro, really? Yeah, I did, and she left anyway. Let me back up. I'm 24, not some high-flying tech bro or wannabe influencer. Just a regular guy who, for most of my life, had one very specific, very stupid-sounding dream. I wanted to start a business selling rubber ducks. Not just the classic yellow ones. I mean full-on themed ducks, Viking ducks, zombie ducks, astronaut ducks, you name it. I had a whole vision board on Trello. A brand name picked out, Quack Attack, come on, that's fire. Even a supplier lined up in Taiwan. I'd been building this since I was 19. People laughed when I told them. Hell, I laughed too, but it made me happy. It was mine. It was weird, it was niche, it was risky, but it was mine. And then I met her. Let's call her Jess, because of course her name is Jess. We met at a friend's birthday party, mutual friends from uni. She had this laugh that made you want to be funny just to hear it again. We clicked stupidly fast. Within 2 months, we were inseparable. Within 4, we moved in together. Everyone said it was fast, but I was 22 and head over heels. What did I care? Jess wasn't just beautiful, she was smart, grounded, organized. The type of person who actually folded laundry right out of the dryer and meal prepped for the week on Sundays. She brought stability into my otherwise chaotic, duck-obsessed life. She wasn't into the duck thing. At first, she thought it was cute in that slightly patronizing way. But once she realized I was serious, like launch an actual LLC serious, she got quiet. I still remember the first time she said it. You really think people are going to buy this many ducks? That hit harder than it should have. But I brushed it off. I thought, she just doesn't see the vision yet. She'll come around. I mean, partners support each other, right? Wrong. We lived together for almost 2 years, and during that time I slowly started, folding, a little at a time, skipping vendor calls to go to her cousin's wedding, pausing product development because this isn't the right financial time, taking a full-time office job I didn't want just to prove I could be responsible. At first, I told myself I was just building a base, a safety net, something stable so I could then pursue the duck dream properly. But the weeks turned into months, and the months turned into years, and eventually, the ducks got packed into a box and shoved in the back of the closet. Out of sight, out of mind. I became the guy with spreadsheets and 9 to 5 meetings and a steady paycheck. The guy who went at Target with his girlfriend and argued over what shower curtain to buy. Jess liked that guy. I hated him. And here's the thing. I didn't even realize how far I'd gone off course until the day she left. It was a Wednesday, totally normal. I came home with Chipotle. She was sitting at the table, not eating, not smiling. You could feel it in the air, that heaviness like a thunderstorm you can't quite see, but you know is coming. We need to talk, she said. I laughed, not because it was funny, because I knew exactly what those 4 words meant. I'd seen the memes, I'd heard the horror stories, but somehow I still thought, not us, that's not our story. Turns out it was. She told me she'd been feeling off for a while, that she needed space, that I was a great guy, and yeah, I actually got the full "it's not you, it's me" speech. She said she felt trapped in the idea of us and didn't want to look back and feel like she missed out on finding herself. Whatever the hell that meant. And the kicker, she said I was too stable, that I'd changed, that I wasn't the same dreamer she fell for. Ironic, right? I gave all that up for her. I traded my dream for a sense of security, for a future I thought we were building together, and in the end, she didn't want that future. She wanted out. I don't think she meant to change me, not consciously anyway. It was never, hey, stop being yourself. It was more like death by 1,000 cuts. Small, almost invisible edits to who I was, edits that, at the time, felt like compromise, like love. It started with the apartment. I wanted a loft, big windows, exposed brick, a little industrial messiness. She wanted beige. Beige everything. Beige walls, beige couch, beige rugs. A living room that looked like it was born in a Pinterest board called Minimalist Piece. I let her win. It's not a big deal, I said. It's just paint. Then it was my clothes. She teased me when I wore my duck stuff. Shirts with cartoon ducks, socks with tiny beaks on them, even my favorite hoodie that said Quack Life. You're cute when you're not trying so hard, she said once, brushing lint off my hoodie. And I laughed, because what else do you do? Then it was my friends. She didn't hate them, she just didn't vibe with them. Said they were immature, especially my best friend Nate. And okay, yeah, Nate is a chaotic gremlin of a human being who once started a GoFundMe to buy a life-size rubber duck boat. But he's also the guy who helped me build my first Shopify site from scratch. The guy who stayed up till 3 a.m. packing duck orders with me in college. But Jess, she said hanging with Nate, made her feel like we were in a frat house. So I saw him less, texted instead of calling, told myself it was just growing up. One day I woke up and realized I hadn't touched my duck prototype shelf in 6 months. The 3D printed ones with the superhero capes were gathering dust. I remember staring at them like I was looking at a part of me I didn't recognize anymore. And then came the moment, the one I still lose sleep over. Last summer, I had a chance to partner with this indie novelty store chain that loved the duck brand. They had 10 locations on the East Coast and wanted to do a limited run of Quack Attack exclusives. I was freaking out. This could have been it. The big break, not rich but real, enough to go full-time. We were supposed to sign the deal in person in Boston. The trip was already booked. The ducks were ready. I even designed custom packaging with full stamped logos. And then Jess got invited to her sister's engagement weekend in Vermont, same weekend. She cried when I said I couldn't come. It's one weekend, babe. One. You really think these duck people can't wait 2 days? I remember the way she said, these duck people, like it was some kind of joke. And maybe it was. But I canceled the trip, told the partner there were logistical delays. They went with another novelty brand, one that makes mini llama figurines, if you can believe that. Llamas. Jess smiled that whole Vermont trip. She introduced me to her cousins like I was already family. That night we stayed up late with wine and old board games, and I remember thinking, maybe this is worth it. Maybe I'm just growing up. But I wasn't growing. I was shrinking. And every time I ignored that little voice inside, the one that whispered, "This isn't you," it got quieter, until it was practically silent. And now it's loud again. It's funny how grief makes you clean. Not cry, not scream, not punch holes in walls. Just clean. The night after Jess left, I didn't sleep. I tried, even laid down fully dressed, shoes and all, like some kind of mannequin trying to pass for a human being. But my body refused to shut down. So instead, at 3:47 a.m., I started cleaning. Not normal cleaning, purge cleaning. I went through every drawer, every shelf, every crevice of that apartment like I was digging for some kind of truth buried under IKEA receipts and expired coupons. Her stuff was mostly gone. She took what mattered. But traces remained. Bobby pins in the bathroom, her favorite mug with the chipped handle, a half-used bottle of that lavender body wash I always thought smelled like a grandma's closet. I threw most of it in a box labeled J and left it by the door. And then in the hall closet, behind a stack of old board games and an unopened yoga mat she swore she'd start using next week, I found it. The duck box. Big, beat up, taped 100 times over. My handwriting still visible on the lid. Danger, serious QSEKING inside. I don't remember putting it there, but seeing it hit like a freight train. Not just because of what was inside. Because of what it meant. I pulled it out and set it in the middle of the living room, surrounded by beige. That ugly, soulless beige she loved so much. And for the first time in almost a year, I opened it. Inside were pieces of me. Hand-painted prototypes, sketchbooks filled with duck concept art, stickers, early logo drafts, a little plush Viking duck with a crooked horn, even my first Etsy order framed by Nate as a joke with the note. One small quack for man, one giant honk for duckkind. I sat there for hours, just holding stuff, turning it over in my hands like I was trying to remember who made it. At some point, I started laughing, like full-on wheezing. Because damn, I miss these stupid ducks. I miss me. And that's when I texted Nate. You up? He replied in 3 seconds. Bruh, it's 5 am, are you dying? Or did Jess finally come to her senses? Neither. Wanna grab a drink later? Hell yes, I'll buy. You look like you need tequila and trauma dumping. We met up that night at the dingiest bar in town. The one with $2 shots and a jukebox that only plays 90s rock if you hit it just right. Nate showed up in a hoodie that said "Duck You" in Comic Sans. I almost cried on sight. Dude, he said, pulling me into a bear hug. You look like 10 pounds of sad in a 5-pound bag. Thanks, I said. You always know how to flatter me. We sat at the sticky bar and ordered whatever cheap tequila they had. 2 shots in, I spilled everything. The breakup, the Vermont trip, the misdeal, the slow, creeping erasure of my entire personality. He didn't interrupt, just nodded, let me talk. When I finished, he leaned back and said, I knew this was coming. What? Bro, you've been gone for like a year. Not physically. But you've been walking around like a duck in a chicken coop, pretending the feathers don't itch. That made me laugh. Ugly, no-snort laugh, first real one in weeks. I kept trying to be what she needed, I said. And she still left, he replied, not unkindly. So what now? You keep pretending or you start quacking again. I looked at him. I want the ducks back, I said quietly. Hell yeah, you do. He slapped the bar. Let's bring the flock home, baby. That night didn't fix everything, but it cracked something open. Hope. Maybe the real kind. The kind that says, okay, you're still here, let's figure this out. It took me 3 days to work up the nerve. The email sat in my drafts the whole time. Just 4 sentences, polite, professional, with a subject line that said, Ray, Quack Attack X Fun Nest, revisiting a missed opportunity. I stared at it every morning, fingers hovering over the keyboard like I was about to defuse a bomb. Because part of me still believed I didn't deserve a second shot. But on the 4th day, Thursday, 9:42 a.m., I hit send. And then I panicked. I literally slammed my laptop shut like that wouldn't do it. Paced my apartment, drank 3 cups of coffee I didn't need. Even picked up the Viking duck and whispered, okay, if this tanks, I'm blamming you, Bjorn. Turns out, Bjorn still had a little magic in him. They replied that afternoon. It wasn't a full yes, not yet. But it was interest. Apparently the llama brand hadn't exactly exploded the way they hoped, and someone from the marketing team still remembered Quack Attack. The rep, a woman named Liana, said they were open to revisiting the idea if I could show them an updated pitch. I felt like I'd just inhaled oxygen for the first time in months. Nate came over that night with 2 pizzas, 3 energy drinks, and a stack of sticky notes. We went full startup mode, sketching rebrand ideas, writing taglines like waddle with purpose and live loud, quack proud. It was messy, it was dumb, it was glorious. By 2 a.m., we had a full pitch deck. It wasn't perfect, but it was me. Colorful, ridiculous, fun. And more than anything, real. 2 days later, I went to the post office to ship a sample package to Fun Nest HQ. I had the ducks, the new packaging, even a personal letter explaining the journey. I was halfway through tapping the box when the girl at the next window glanced over. Oh my God, she said, are those ducks wearing capes? I looked up. She had curly brown hair, big glasses, and a grin that made you feel like you were already in on the joke. Yeah, I said, it's kind of my thing. She leaned closer. Wait, is that a pirate duck? I nodded. Captain Quackbeard. He fights bathtime boredom with ruthless efficiency. She burst out laughing, like full-on belly laugh. Then she said, okay, that's genius. Where can I get one? I froze. It was such a basic question, but I hadn't answered it in forever. So I said, soon, hopefully, relaunching the brand. Well, she said, stepping back to her own counter, if you ever need product testers, my nephew is 5 and very passionate about rubber duckies, and also pirates. She scribbled something on a receipt and handed it to me before leaving. Tess. I stared at the name for a second too long. Not because I was thinking romance, I wasn't there yet, not even close. But because for the first time in forever, someone saw the ducks and didn't laugh at me. They just got it. It felt like a green light from the universe. A small one, but still it blinked. That weekend, I finished the pitch deck and emailed it to Liana. I even included a photo of Captain Quackbeard with a handwritten post-it that said, ready to set sail again. She replied the next morning. We're intrigued. Let's set up a call next week. I sat back, phone in hand, and let it sink in. No, I wasn't back yet. But for the first time since Jess left, I wasn't trying to be someone else. I was me, weird, duck-obsessed, overly optimistic me. And honestly, that felt better than any relationship I'd ever had. The morning of the call, I woke up 2 hours early and still felt late. I'd already triple-checked the Wi-Fi, tested my mic, and rehearsed my pitch in the mirror so many times I was starting to hate my own face. The deck was solid, the ducks were ready. But my brain was doing that thing again, the one where it whispered. What if they laugh? What if you blow it again? What if you're still the guy who gave it all up for someone who didn't even stay? I almost canceled. Almost. But then I looked over at my desk. Right there, propped up between my laptop and a stack of notes, was Bjorn the Viking duck, still a little lopsided, still grinning like he knew something I didn't. I smiled back and whispered, let's do this. The call went better than I expected. Liana was warm, smart, and totally on board with the relaunch from the Ashes vibe. She loved the new branding, especially the idea of making the ducks limited edition with themed drops. People love a comeback, she said, and yours feels authentic. We talked timelines, logistics, even floated the idea of an in-store Quack Week, a silly promo with costumes and duck-themed events. She said she'd pitch it to her team and loop me in by end of the week. When the call ended, I didn't scream. Didn't fist pump, didn't cry. I just sat back and breathed, deep, long, full-body breath. Because for once, I wasn't chasing anything. I was just being. That afternoon, I went out for a walk. No goal, no errand, just sun on my face and time to kill. And of course, because the universe has a sick sense of humor, I saw her. Jess. She was across the street, walking with a friend, laughing, wearing the same coat she'd worn on that Vermont trip. The one I once told her made her look like a classy detective. I froze. She didn't see me at first, but then eyes met. Just for a second. She smiled, small, a little uncertain, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to. I nodded, just once, that was it. And I kept walking. No explosion, no dramatic slow-motion music. Just peace. Later, I realized I hadn't felt anger or regret. Just distance. Like she was someone from a chapter that ended already, a story I was no longer inside. Maybe that's what healing actually is. Not forgetting, not pretending it didn't hurt. Just knowing the pain doesn't control you anymore. Right now, I'm sitting at my kitchen table, sipping cheap coffee and waiting for a follow-up email from FunNest. Next to me is a shipping box filled with ducks, ready to be sent to 3 early testers, including Tess's duck-obsessed nephew. Because yeah, I texted her. Nothing flirty, just a hey, I think your nephew might like these. She responded with 20 exclamation points and a photo of him wearing a pirate hat. Bjorn watches over the table, like the tiny plastic warlord he is. I don't know what happens next. But for the first time in a long time, I'm not scared of it. I gave up my dream for a girl. She left, but I stayed. And now I'm coming back to life, one quack at a time.